Hello, my fourth grade artists. We are starting a new 4-week project this week. This is week 5, which is going to be in the blue folder of Schoology, if you found this video another way. But we are starting a new project all about an artist named Frank Stella. So Stella was an abstract, non-objective artist that focused on minimalism. So minimalism is kind of like it sounds, it's minimalist. So very little information, it's very non-objective, very abstract. And his most famous works were symmetrical boxes that were kind of like something you might look at if you were looking, you thought you might be hypnotized. It's called op art, it's optical illusions, and it looks like it can be moving. But he was really into symmetry and really into using lines and colors to create artwork that was different than anything that had ever been created before. So this week we're gonna start our project and we're just gonna do a little bit each week. So this week we're going to talk about symmetry. And symmetry is what I think you guys have talked about symmetry before, but symmetry means it's the same on both sides. So if I decided to fold this paper so that I could keep track of my symmetry. So I drew a wavy line on one side and then I drew the flipped version of the wavy line on the other. Each line that I added on the other side. Maybe I went back and added some triangles, but if I add a triangle on one side, I've got to add it to the other. It doesn't necessarily have to be symmetrical up and down, but it needs to be symmetrical either up and down or left to right. It can be either way. I'm gonna draw a square across the line of symmetry. So you can just keep going with this. But this is my kind of example of how it's the same on both sides. Mandalas are also symmetrical, and we've talked a little bit about mandalas before. But they're symmetrical in a circle, and we're gonna do symmetrical in a square, or a rectangle-ish square shape. So you're gonna need a sheet of paper. I'm gonna use a Sharpie, but you could also use a dark marker to do this first part. And then you can use markers, colored pencils, crayons, pens, whatever you have, just make it super colorful. So I'm gonna start by splitting up my page into 4 sections. You can do this first by folding your paper if that's more comfortable for you, or you can just dive right in. They don't all have to be the same size area. They can be all different, or be a little bit off. So if I wanted to draw my line not quite center, I could do that, but I really like the idea of drawing it center. The video suggests that you draw zigzag and wavy lines, which I think is really fun. So I'm going to do that to create 4 sections. So now that I have my 4 sections, I'm going to pick 2 sections that I want to make symmetrical within itself. So you could do diagonally, you could do beside each other. I think diagonally looks best for this project. You can look on page 8 of the Frank Stella lesson to kind of see where we're going with this project. It has a video of the whole thing, but you're only gonna do this first section. So I'm gonna go across just like in the video, and I'm gonna start up here, and I'm just gonna go for it. And so I'm just gonna start with lines and shapes that I really like. So I'm gonna start with a circle, and I like to draw things out and then go back and color them in with different patterns, maybe add some overlapping. I also like shapes a lot, but I'm gonna do this first. As you guys can see, once I do something to one side, I'm immediately going and doing it on the other so that I can keep this symmetrical the whole time.
I feel like taking chances. I feel a lot like 17.
So now that it is balanced on all sides, I've made sure that it's symmetrical. I chose a middle plane so that on each side of my hand, it would be symmetrical on both sides. You can also go top and bottom, or you could do a diagonal plane if you're feeling really adventurous. So now that I have my shapes, I'm gonna go in and color this, add some layers to it.
I feel like this, like when I close my eyes and don't even care if anyone sees me dancing, like I can fly and they don't even.
Notice that when I'm coloring in, I'm also making sure my colors are the same on both sides of my drawing.
Brand new. Brand new. I feel like a young John Cusack.
So now I've gone back, so I started with my pens, went back in with my colored pencils. Then I added marker to make thicker lines in places that I thought needed some more interest. Then I went back with black and added some layering and filled in a couple spaces that I felt were too white. Now you could leave this the way it is, or you can go back in with a colored pencil and or a crayon and do a kind of rubbing on it. So I could take a light colored crayon, take the paper off of it, maybe like a gray, and I could rub it so that there was a background color, or you can leave it white. If you leave it white though, most of the space needs to be used with color, and the white needs to be intentional. It doesn't need to be just you got lazy and didn't want to finish it. It needs to be there to kind of serve a purpose and help add some contrast to your piece of artwork. Notice that even though I didn't quite space these right, I did a black square here, so went ahead and did one up here, even if it overlapped with the design right below it. Layering is a great option. Try to mix up your thin lines and your thick lines, straight lines and curved lines. Give it some balance. That's one of our our principles of design is balance, which symmetry is all about balance, but it's nice to have a nice variety of lines, colors, and shapes on your artwork to add some interest to it. So you're gonna do this in 2 boxes. You can pick any of the 2 boxes that you would like. I'm gonna do my second one down here diagonally, but you can do it however you would like. If you have any questions about symmetry or Frank Stella or how to complete this step, please message me on Schoology. I will see you guys soon. Adios.